There we go. Welcome, Paradigm Shifters, to Transformation Tuesday. Whoop! And yes, we are thawed out in Texas. And I have my I Love My Life sweat t-shirt on. I just got back from the park. There's kids in the park. There's volunteers out there that are there's a lot of trees down. And the volunteers are out there. They're mulching. They're taking the trees and mulching and putting it on for the spring. And I'm just so full of life today. I'm also so appreciative of all of you paradigm shifters. Drum roll, please. We are up to 757 members as of this morning. And we keep growing and growing because we are a global community dedicated to uplifting the planet. And as you know, we have Transformation Tuesday. That would be today. And I am so excited to introduce you to my new friend. So, just a little bit of background. Dr. Sally, excuse me, Dr. Sally and I were in a challenge last week, a 5-day everyday challenge. Your message matters. And I saw Sally's message that she has to give the world. I saw her present it, and I'm like, OMG, you have to come and present to this group. And Sally also is a member of Paradigm Shifters, too. So I'm going to take a deep breath in here again, and I'm going to read a little bit about Dr. Sally. How's that? You go okay with that, Sally? Yep. Okay, so I'm going to introduce you to Dr. Sally Cleland. She's operated her own consulting business, STEAM Consulting, for nearly 40 years, facilitating interactive seminars and experiential workshops founded in the principles of healthy self-esteem. It's perfect for this group. She has a diverse background, not only as a veterinary specialist, working within both industry and academia, but also has expertise in managerial, clinical, teaching, and consulting positions. Woo! While working in both the corporate and academic worlds, she noticed repeatedly, no matter where or no matter whether, in reference to students or staff, an individual's performance and productivity was directly related to their level of self-esteem. I love that. From these observations, she developed and shares her 3-part model on healthy self-esteem. Her premier presentations are based on what life lessons she has learned from animals, and one such presentation is based on what she's learned about self-esteem from chameleons, entitled Revealing the Chameleon. Now, Dr. Sally, as many address her, is passionate about encouraging people on their journey of self-discovery and inspiring and educating people to reach greater levels of achievement, contribution, and fulfillment in their personal and professional lives. Her business mantra is, business success is merely an extension of personal success. Amen. A few fun facts about Sally. Dr. Sally, she was the leader of a folk singing group called Patches in Time that placed first in a talent contest in 1968. Now, where were you all in 68? And she had to call the Toronto SWAT team on an occasion when chimpanzees escaped from a I can't believe it. Chimpanzee escaped from a facility she was managing. She can be available to share the full stories. So I have her website, but I want to turn this over, and Dr. Sally, it is all yours. It is such a pleasure to meet you. And the floor is totally yours. Go for
Oh,
it.
Well, thanks a lot, Judy. I have to say, you mentioned it in your little soliloquy at the beginning about being cognizant of being grateful and recognizing gratitude no matter the situation. And I just have to share with you how grateful I am to be invited to share some of my thoughts with you and paradigm shifters. And as I was getting ready to participate today, there's several messages I would like to share. I think they're all interlocked. But the first one is this concept of Transformation Tuesday. I'm certain that some people might think of that as a huge, big event. That today I'm the way I am, and tomorrow I'm transformed. The same kind of concept of paradigm shifters is that it can impart that there is some great big event that causes this shift, whatever it might be, whether it's mindset or whatever. I wanted to remind everybody as a starting point that these shifts start out as small shifts, small steps in a transformation, and then one day you recognize you're transformed to whatever that might be. Because I think sometimes people are intimidated to think, I've got to take these giant steps. Now, those of you who are equipped or have the opportunity to make a huge leap, go for it. But don't ever think your leap has to be humongous. And I just want to say that because it's the name of the group and it's the name of your session today. That there's all sorts of latitude in that regard. So I don't know if you want to ask me some questions, Judy. If you just want me to kind of jump into sort of the theme of the message I shared last week, or what you'd like to, how you'd like to conduct this.
What I would love is if you presented the message that I heard you share last week.
Okay, and that's just great. So in a way, I'm going to give you a Reader's Digest version through my message of how I was able to encapsulate my background as a veterinarian, working in industry or in university settings, and now doing sort of these workshops and seminars in self-esteem. Because I know sometimes people have a picture of what a veterinarian does. I'm out there spaying cats or neutering dogs or pulling calves or cleaning up diarrhea. That certainly is a vivid picture of what clinical veterinary medicine is. But as you said when you were introducing me, Judy, I recognized fairly early in my career this link between self esteem and performance. And I also had a personal experience in this regard, which was the essence of the message I shared last week. And if I can sort of have you envision me as a veterinary student standing in a pathology lab, watching my professor dissect a diseased liver, surrounded by my classmates, and we're all in our white lab coats. And I'm thinking, what am I doing here? What am I doing here? And suddenly, a few of my classmates around me began to chuckle and giggle. And I realized I'd actually spoken those words out loud. I was thinking them, but I said them out loud. And now my classmates heard me with this declaration of what I'm doing there. And I will share with you that I decided when I was 9 years old to become a veterinarian. And I never considered an alternative. I had total tunnel vision on that. I never believed I couldn't do it. I didn't know what the barriers were going to be, but that's the path that I was on. And here I was standing in that pathology lab 2 semesters before graduation, struck with a lack of confidence, totally overwhelmed with the volume of workload I had, feeling very unworthy, wondering if I measured up when I compared myself to my classmates, questioning whether or not I belonged in that room, and suddenly this tsunami of self doubt washed over me. And I thought, I can't do this. So, what's a gal to do when you're sort of at that crisis? I totally invested my entire high school, university, and young adult life to this pursuit, and now I was questioning my decision. So, called my dad, and I would say in those days, I referred to my dad as my first role model, my first mentor. And nowadays, people might think the role in this regard he played was like a coach. And many people nowadays know the function of a coach. So, in my dialogue with my mentor, my dad, he challenged me, well, do you have any evidence that supports these doubts? Do you have any evidence that you don't belong? Do you have any evidence you don't measure up to your classmates? Do you have any evidence that um, you can't handle this workload? And then he said, or do you have some evidence that you actually can handle the workload? Do you have any history of handling tough jobs? Do you have any evidence that you are a worthwhile individual? So if you can see where I'm going, you can imagine this young senior veterinary student at this moment listening to her dad, her mentor, challenge her with the evidence. And I realized not that I was being boastful, but I really didn't have any evidence that I wasn't worthy. And I didn't have any evidence that I couldn't do the work because I'd gotten to this point. So I'm sharing that part about the role my dad played was he played the role of coach. Yes, he was my dad, he was my parent. And I'll tell you, he's also a clinical psychologist. So I might have had that banking in my favor given his own expertise. But I recognized that I could embrace my competence, that I could totally handle the workload and confirm my worthiness. And basically my message to my dad, or my message from my dad, was that you can do this. And that became, Judy, as you recall from what I shared last week, is that is my message. And it's not a unique message. It's not a mind-blowing message. It's a message others have heard from other people. But I totally believe no matter what you've had to come up against, no matter how low you feel in your life, that if you can hang on to that little mantra, I can do this, that you will find the solution. And for me, uh, my prescription is working on maintaining healthy self esteem. There are many parts to other people's toolbox in this regard. That's the one that I believe that I can bring to the world. So that's really what I've dedicated, Judy, in my courses and seminars, the foundation of self esteem. And as I said, it's not unique. I'm not, have this mind blowing idea, but I have used my own experience in my career and my life to build on that platform. So that's sort of the Reader's Digest version there, Judy.
Well, so my question would be, so we've I'm just gonna say, like, being a older than average, right, and trying to tackle something new, and that voice comes in saying, well, you're too old, you're too this or that. What would you say to a person who is in that time of life, or COVID's going to get me, or I'm not going to survive? What is it that you could what would you say to a person in that situation?
Well, I believe if you're going to use the particular example of I'm too old, is that you are whatever age you are, and if you think that you're in the category that makes you old, that's a reality. But using your age as a reason why you cannot continue to add value to your own life and have a purpose in your life beyond yourself at that age, then you have to look at, as my dad challenged me, what's the evidence? Yes, you are 65, or yes, you are 70. That's a reality. Set that aside. What is it that you can do? What can you do no matter what your age is? And in terms of looking at self-esteem as a tool and as a mechanism to consider when you're asking yourselves those questions, is that I have always believed that self-esteem is an inside job. It's at the core of your personality, and it arises from validation of yourself, and a little bit too often validation from others. Coming back to my comment when I was in vet school, comparing yourself to others. If we solely measure ourselves by how others measure us, I think we're always going to come up short. So we need to have the validation from ourselves in that regard. And again, coming back to my observation in the workplace and in life in general experiences, I also know that self-esteem is the backbone of success. And success is totally dependent on you having a desire for success and an expectation of success. And what I started saying many years ago is self-esteem is the original never-ending story. And by that I mean, it doesn't mean once you have it, you always have it. This is something you have to work on all the time. And having some strategies and some ideas about how to maintain it is really essential. So your question about I'm too old to do this, I might interpret that as I don't think I can do this. There's nothing for me to do. I'm feeling worthless. So those are the things to address. And in my model that you mentioned in my introduction, I utilized what contemporary and historical social scientists have said are the fundamental elements of self-esteem, which is competence and worthiness. And then I added on the Sally Cleland factor in my model, and that is having a purpose and a mission in life. Because you can have a lot of competence in your career and in your skills and in your volunteer work, and you can feel worthy because you feel gratitude and other people are appreciative of you. But the missing link, as I sort of went through my educational path in this regard, is those two won't hold up if you don't have a purpose or a mission in life. So think again about the person you've mentioned. I'm too old. You are enriched with your life experiences. Totally, absolutely enriched. And just think for a moment of the stay-at-home mother who maybe never went out into the workplace. She made a commitment to raise her children, and that was where she dedicated her life. Think of the skills she learned managing the household, time management, organizational skills, all those sort of humanistic qualities that we all know, those of us who have raised children. You either start out knowing what you're doing or you learn as you go. So even an individual who says, oh, gee, I don't have an education, I don't have a degree, I don't have any skills from the workplace, you've got more than you think. And again, coming back to your example of the person who's older, man, you've got a gold mine. That's what I would say.
Great. Well, I just have one other quick question and two actually questions. One, I'm dying to find out about the chimpanzees that got loose when you were managing the facilities. you know,
Okay, well, I mean, it had its moments of humor, but obviously it was an urgent situation. I worked at a facility in the north part of Toronto, and over the years, the community grew up around it. So it meant that I could look out my office window and see condos. And I mean, I knew even at that time, this whole operation was going to have to move somewhere else. We can't just be in your backyard, right? And this particular incident demonstrated that several of the chimpanzees got out. I wasn't there. I was driving into work when it happened. So I don't know if someone left their enclosure unlocked or they broke through it. What many of you may not know is chimpanzees, adult chimpanzees are extremely large. We see the little young chimpanzees in the Tarzan movies. Chimpanzees are pretty large. So the idea that they broke out somehow is not beyond imagination. But obviously, with this neighborhood close by, we really had to act pretty fast. And we ended up having to bring in the Toronto SWAT team. I mean, the tragedy would have been if they had had to destroy the animals, but we equipped them with dart guns, like that had an anesthetic in them. And so we were able to, like you would if you're out in the jungle, capture them and get them again. But the one humorous part is we've all seen movies or TV shows where, the SWAT team is behind this and some are behind trees. There was one guy up in a tree. I mean, they come in and do their thing. They don't say, okay, we got the chimpanzee mode now. No, they come in and do their thing. And there's one SWAT guy up in the tree. I heard him. And keep in mind, This is an urgent situation. And he said to his friend, well, what are we supposed to do? Throw them some bananas? Anyway, we got them. They were safe. Everybody was safe. That was the end of that story.
There you go. Well, so in terms of what you're doing now, and I know you told me that you are my age, we're 70, right?
Yeah.
Can you what would you love for us to hold for your next phase of your beautiful unfolding youthful life? What would you love to have us hold? And I know you gave us your website and stuff, so I'm going to put that below, but tell us about where it is you now. I just love the fact that you're my age and you're just starting out once
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Tell us what
Well,
you're doing now and
there's
how.
sort of two. There's
Oh,
sort of two things. Is that well, we have limited time, and I like to sort of have people have a bit more background and then dialogue. Is that if anyone who's watching, I know you did put this on my post in Paradigm Shifters. If anyone would like a copy of my 3-part model of self-esteem, I'd be more than happy to email it to you. And you did post my email address, so I want to say that before we run out of time. But and I don't know really how much time we have. I should have put on
you're
my
fine. No
okay.
problem.
But I would like to do with those on the call right now a very short exercise if you're willing. Okay, so this is going to be a Reader's Digest version of a much longer activity I do in my workshop. So if everybody has a pen and a small piece of paper in front of them, and Judy, you can let me know when you're ready.
Uh, yeah, yeah. Let me just double check it. I can see the whole crowd. I can see everybody here, and let me see. I think I think we're ready. Yeah,
Okay, so if everybody's got a paper and a pen, maybe just do a thumbs up. I don't want to start if you still have to scramble to get some paper.
I think we're okay. Go ahead.
Okay, all right. So this is, I don't want a lot of thought. I want you to write down on your piece of paper the first 5 characteristics that you use to describe yourself or other people have used to describe you. The first things that come. Don't think long. What are 5 characteristics that if you put Judy down, you could put an equal mark, and here's these 5 things. Or if you put Carol down, here's these 5 things. So the first 5 that pop into your mind. I'll just give you a minute to do it, and you can let me know when you've got the 5.
Okay, got it.
You got 5? Okay. Now, we know in turn, like if you read anybody who has published or who has spent their life working in teaching people how to be high performers or how to succeed in life, you generally break down productivity and performance into 2 categories: skills that you have and the attitudes that you have. And skills are those things we learn, like playing the piano is a skill. You know, learning the new computer program is a skill. And then attitudes are the perceptions we have about our world, perceptions we have about ourselves, um, more on the experiential side. So I'd like you to look at your list of 5 and put an S beside anyone that you would put into the skill category, and an A to any.
Oops. Okay, I think our.
And which would you categorize as attitude?
Okay, Sally, the internet kind of went there. Can you just repeat that last part again? Oh, I haven't. I think we might have lost her. Oh, let me see. Oh, darn, I think we lost her for a little bit. She's up in Canada, so I think what she said is to put an S in front of what's a skill and an A in front of attitude. And then she's gone. She'll come back in. She'll come back in. Um, Okay, I think, does anybody here want to read what they have? I can read mine, but go ahead, Karen. What did you write down?
Mine are all attitude. I have fun, caring, loving, positive, and spiritual.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Yeah. How about you, Carol?
Unmute.
I have dependable, funny, cooperative, loves people, and determined.
There you go. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a deep breath in here, and I'm going to end the recording because she's Carol. I mean, and then she'll probably pop in. But Paradigm Shifters, thank you for coming, and more to come from Dr. Sally. I'm going to have her back when her internet's better, and her once again, she has if you put email her, she'll send you her keys, her pamphlet on developing self-esteem. So I'm going to put that there. So thank you so much. There's more to come next week. So grateful that you're here.